when MiG-29s ambushed Eagles. The sky over the Black Sea shimmered with the haze of late afternoon, a deceptively calm canvas for what was coming. Captain Mark Blazer Reynolds sat in the cockpit of his F-15C Eagle, high above the world, thousands of feet up, with only the roar of afterburners and the ever-present tension of a foreign sky keeping him company. He scanned his instruments, then glanced over at his wingman, Lieutenant Jake "Frosty" Hart. They'd flown dozens of missions together, patrolling contested airspace in the post-treaty breakdown over Eastern Europe. What was once routine had turned volatile over the last 2 weeks, as Russia made aggressive moves in Moldova and Georgia. Now, NATO forces were on constant alert. "Eagle 1, this is Eagle 2, Jake's voice crackled through the radio. "Quiet today. Makes my trigger finger twitchy." Mark smiled behind his oxygen mask. "Stay frosty, Frosty. Quiet usually means someone's loading the guns." They were 30 minutes into their CAP, Combat Air Patrol, mission. No unusual radar pings, no satellite chatter, no AWACS warning. Just the rhythmic beat of altitude checks and airspeed. That was until the AWACS controller's calm voice suddenly spiked. "Eagle flight, pop-up bogies, bearing 042, 45 miles, closing fast. Possible hostile. ROE condition yellow. Intercept and identify." "Copy that," Mark replied, heart already racing. Eagle flight turning to 042. Weapons hot, radar active. He rolled his jet into a sharp bank, feeling the GS tug at his body as Jake followed on his wing. Mark's radar lit up seconds later, 3 fast-moving contacts in tight formation. "Looks like fulcrums," Jake murmured. "MiG-29s. No transponders, no IFF. Definitely not ours." Mark frowned. 3 against 2. Odds could be better. "But not more fun," Jake replied. Mark's HUD painted the lead MiG in red as they closed the distance. The fulcrums split into a wedge formation, aggressive. No radio call, no attempt at comms. This was no patrol, they were here to fight. "Eagle flight, MiGs are locking us up," the AWACS blared. "Break and engage," Mark shouted. In a flash, sky turned into chaos. Missiles streaked through the air, the serene blue suddenly carved by contrails and explosions. Mark rolled left, punching chaff and flares as a radar-guided R-77 screamed past his right wing. He flipped inverted, dove, then yanked the stick hard to loop up behind the second MiG. Jake's voice burst in. "Fox 3. Splash 1. Mark caught a glimpse of the burning wreckage below, 1 MiG down. That evened the odds. He locked onto the third MiG and fired an AIM-120. "Fox 3, defensive," he barked, rolling as another MiG tried to flank him. But the MiG dodged the missile and circled back with terrifying precision. "These aren't regular Russian pilots," Jake called, breathless. "They're damn good." Mark gritted his teeth. He had the same feeling. Whoever they were trained, ruthless, and prepared. The lead MiG was suddenly behind Mark, tailing him through impossible turns. He jerked left and right, flares spitting out, but the fulcrum stuck to him like a shadow. "Frosty! He's on me. I see him, coming in fast. Hang tight." Mark yanked the throttle into afterburner, flinging the Eagle into a rolling climb, fighting GS that threatened to black him out. The MiG followed, and then, just as Mark's vision dimmed, Jake screamed, "Fox 2!" An infrared Sidewinder missile arced across the sky and struck the MiG dead center. The explosion lit the cockpit in a flash of orange before it disappeared in a plume. Mark gasped, lungs burning. "Thanks, brother. You saved my ass." "One left," Jake called, but his voice was strained. "Where is he?" Mark demanded. Then it came, Jake's sharp intake of breath. "He's behind me. Can't shake him." Mark swung his Eagle around, adrenaline firing through his veins. He spotted Jake's jet, a gray blur twisting and diving, the final MiG locked tight on his 6. Mark closed in fast, radar screaming, but then the MiG pulled a maneuver no Eagle had ever been able to mimic. An impossibly tight cobra turn, and suddenly he was behind Mark again. "What the hell?" He turned the table. Mark barked. "This guy's not just good," Jake said. "He's elite." Mark had one shot. He dove into the deck, streaking toward the sea below. He skimmed the surface, barely above the waves, trying to force the MiG down with him. One mistake, one miscalculation, and they'd both be seagull food. The MiG followed. "Got you now," Mark whispered. He pitched up hard, rolling inverted into a climb, then cut throttle and let gravity slow him down. The MiG shot past him, just for a second. It was all he needed. Fox 2. The missile leapt from under his wing and struck the MiG as it tried to turn back. The sky lit with fire. Mark leveled off, panting. AWACS, 3 bogeys splashed. Eagle flight status. Silence. Then Jake's voice. "I'm still here, but I'm hit. Engines sputtering. I'm not going to make it back." Mark's heart sank. "I'm not leaving you. Mark, listen. I'm over friendly waters. I'll eject. Just get home." There was a long pause. "I'll see you on the ground, Frosty." Jake's final words were calm. "Count on it." 2 hours later, Mark sat in the debriefing room, still in his flight suit, staring at classified photos laid across the table. The debrief officer was grim. "You were right about the maneuvers. Those weren't regular Russian pilots." "Then who?" Mark asked. The officer turned a folder around. A black-and-white image showed 3 men in flight suits, standing beside MiG-29s with no markings. Private mercenaries. Hired by a rogue ex-general. Operating out of Crimea. We've been tracking them for weeks. You just met them in the sky. Mark stared. 3 of the best pilots I've ever seen. And now they're gone. "No," the officer said quietly. "One of them ejected. He's still out there." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. "Then it's not over." The officer nodded. "Not by a long shot." Outside, the night deepened. Somewhere across the sea, a parachute had bloomed. And a man who nearly killed them both was already preparing for round 2.